I'm standing in my kitchen, tears streaming down my face, staring at the plate of food I spent 3 hours preparing. The lamb is perfectly seared, the sauce glossy and rich, the vegetables cut with precision that would make a culinary school instructor proud. But none of that matters now, because the man I've been living with for 2 years just told me it tastes like cafeteria garbage and walked out to get McDonald's instead. You know what your problem is, Sarah? Marcus had said, not even looking up from his phone as he pushed the plate away after one bite. You think you're some kind of chef, but you're just playing pretend. Real chefs don't work at insurance companies. The worst part of me believed him. Because for 2 years, every time I've tried to share my passion for cooking, he's found a way to crush it. Every dinner party suggestion shot down. Every cooking class I mentioned dismissed as a waste of money. Every recipe I perfected met with the same lukewarm response. It's fine, I guess. But tonight feels different. Tonight, as I scrape my perfectly cooked dinner into the trash, something inside me snaps. Because tomorrow, I have a meeting that could change everything. A meeting Marcus knows nothing about. A meeting with someone who actually understands what real cooking means. And when that meeting is over, Marcus is going to learn exactly how wrong he's been about me. Comment below, have you ever had someone crush your dreams? What happened? My name is Sarah Chen, and I'm 31 years old. On paper, my life looks pretty standard. I work as a claims adjuster at Hartwell Insurance, live in a decent apartment in Portland with my boyfriend Marcus, and spend my weekends doing normal 30-something things like grocery shopping and Netflix marathons. But the truth is, food has been my secret language since I was 7 years old. I grew up in a house where emotions weren't discussed, they were cooked. My grandmother, Nai, moved in with us when my parents divorced, and while Mom worked double shifts as a nurse, Nai taught me that every dish tells a story. Congee when someone was sick, hot pot when we needed to feel connected as a family. Elaborate feast preparations during Chinese New Year that took days and made our tiny kitchen feel like the center of the universe. Cooking is love made visible, she used to say in her broken English, her weathered hands guiding mine as we folded dumplings. When you cook for someone, you give them piece of your heart. I believed her completely. Through high school, while other kids were at parties, I was experimenting with flavor combinations in our kitchen. I taught myself French technique from library books, learned Italian pasta making from YouTube videos, and somehow convinced the owner of a local Thai restaurant to teach me knife skills in exchange for free prep work on weekends. My plan was simple: culinary school after graduation, then work my way up in restaurant kitchens until I could open my own place. I had it all mapped out, even had a name picked, Stories, because every dish would tell one. Then Dad had his heart attack my senior year. The medical bills were catastrophic. Mom was drowning in debt, working herself to exhaustion. My college fund evaporated overnight, and suddenly my culinary dreams felt selfish and impossible. So I did what I thought was responsible. I got my business degree at the local community college, found a stable job with good benefits, and convinced myself that cooking could just be a hobby. That was 13 years ago. I met Marcus 2 years ago at a company mixer. He worked in tech consulting, wore expensive suits, and had the kind of confidence that made me feel like maybe I was settling into real adult life. He was handsome in a conventional way, tall, brown hair always perfectly styled, the kind of guy who looked good in other people's Instagram photos. On our first date, I cooked for him, braised short ribs with a red wine reduction that took me all day to perfect. He ate it quickly, complimented it briefly, and then spent the rest of the evening talking about his work. I told myself he was just nervous. When he moved in 6 months later, I was excited about having someone to cook for regularly. Finally, I thought, I'd have an audience for all the techniques I'd been practicing, all the recipes I'd been perfecting in my solo kitchen. But Marcus had opinions about everything I made, and none of them were good. The congee has become my signature dish at Elena's new restaurant, Races. It's on the permanent menu now, listed as Sarah's congee, uni, crispy shallots, and 5-spice oil, served in a bowl that costs $42 and has a 3-week wait list. Seeing my name on a real menu never gets old. I taste the batch I made this morning, adjusting the seasoning with the confidence I've developed over hundreds of iterations. The rice is perfectly creamy, The uni adds just the right amount of brine, and the five-spice oil provides heat without overwhelming the delicate flavors. Perfect, Elena says, tasting over my shoulder. You've got the consistency down to a science. 6 weeks ago, Elena promoted me from prep cook to junior sous chef. It came with a modest raise and significantly more responsibility, but more importantly, it came with her trust. I develop new dishes now, manage inventory, and train the newer prep cooks who remind me of myself 3 months ago, eager, terrified, and determined to prove themselves. My phone buzzes with a text notification. I ignore it. Phones stay off during service prep, but during my break, I check it. It's from my old coworker Jenny at the insurance company. OMG, Sarah, just saw the article about you in Portland Monthly. So proud. My stomach flips article. I quickly Google Sarah Chen Portland Monthly and find it immediately. The insurance adjuster who became Portland's hottest new chef. The piece is part of their Career Changers series, focusing on people who left traditional jobs to pursue their passions. The photo shows me in my chef's whites, standing in Race's kitchen, holding a bowl of my congee. I look confident, professional. I look like I belong there. The article quotes Elena extensively. Sarah has an intuitive understanding of flavor that can't be taught. She brings a unique perspective to our menu development, combining classical Chinese techniques with modern presentation in ways that surprise and delight our guests. Further down, there's a section about the success of my congee. Chen's signature dish has become one of Portland's most sought-after reservations. Food critics have praised its perfect balance of comfort and sophistication, and the restaurant regularly sells out of the dish within hours of opening. My hands are shaking as I read it. Then I see the final paragraph. When asked about her transition from insurance to cuisine, Chen says, "Sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all. I spent years playing it safe and I was miserable. Now I work harder than I ever have, make less money than I used to, and I've never been more fulfilled. The people who truly love you will support your growth, even when it's scary." I don't remember saying that last part, but reading it now, I realize it's exactly what I believe. Elena appears beside me, saw the article, huh? You didn't tell me they were doing this. Wanted it to be a surprise. You've earned the recognition, Sarah. That dish is bringing people from Seattle, from San Francisco. Food bloggers are making trips to Portland specifically to try your congee. My asterisk congee. The dish Marcus used to eat without comment, the technique I learned from my grandmother and refined through years of experimentation, the recipe that represents everything I am as a cook. There's something else, Elena says, looking unusually nervous. I got a call this morning from James Beard Foundation. They want to nominate you for Rising Chef of the Year. I nearly dropped my phone. Elena, I've been cooking professionally for 3 months. And in those 3 months, you've created one of the most talked about dishes in the Pacific Northwest. They're not nominating you because of your experience, they're nominating you because of your talent. The James Beard Foundation, the most prestigious culinary awards in America. 3 months ago, I was processing insurance claims and letting my boyfriend convince me I had no talent. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a number I recognize but haven't seen in months. Marcus. Saw the article, can we talk? I stare at the message for a long moment, then delete it without responding. You okay? Elena asks. Yeah, just someone from my past. But as the day goes on, Marcus keeps texting. I was wrong about the restaurant thing. Clearly you made the right choice. I miss you, can we get dinner sometime? I've been thinking about what you said, about me not supporting your dreams. You were right. Sarah, please respond. I want to make things right. Each message feels like validation and vindication rolled into one. The man who told me I was playing pretend, who laughed at the idea of Elena wanting to work with me, who gave me an ultimatum when I chose my dreams over his comfort. Now he wants to make things right. During my dinner break, I finally respond. Marcus, I appreciate you reaching out, but I'm not interested in revisiting our relationship. I hope you understand. His response comes immediately. Can we at least be friends? I want to be part of your success. Part of your success? as if he had anything to do with it, as if he didn't spend 2 years systematically undermining my confidence in the kitchen. I don't respond. That weekend, I get a surprise visitor at the restaurant. I'm expediting the pass, calling out orders, plating final garnishes, making sure every dish that leaves our kitchen meets Elena's standards, when I see a familiar figure at table 12. Marcus, wearing a suit I've never seen before, sitting across from a woman I don't recognize. They're sharing the tasting menu, which costs $180 per person and books out weeks in advance. He sees me watching and waves, like we're old friends who just happened to run into each other. My first instinct is anger. How dare he show up at my workplace uninvited? But as I watch him eat, really watch him, I realize something interesting. He's trying to impress his date by talking about the food. I can't hear what he's saying from across the restaurant, but I can read his body language, the animated way he's gesturing at his plate, the self-important expression he gets when he thinks he knows more than he does about something. When they order my congee, I make sure to plate it myself, adding an extra garnish of microgreens and a perfect drizzle of the five-spice oil. I want it to be flawless. I watch Marcus take his first bite. Watch his face change as he processes the complex flavors, the silky texture, the way each element builds on the others to create something greater than the sum of its parts. This is the same dish he used to eat without comment when I made it at home. The same techniques he dismissed as playing pretend. Now he's paying $42 for it and acting like a food expert to impress his date. The irony is delicious. When they finish dinner, Marcus approaches the pass. "Sarah, that was incredible, really incredible." "Thank you," I say professionally. "I had no idea you were capable of." He gestures vaguely at the bustling kitchen behind me. "All this." "I tried to tell you." Marcus looks uncomfortable. I know I didn't handle things well when you were making this transition. I was scared of losing you, and I said some things I regret." His date is waiting by the door, checking her phone impatiently. "I should get back to work," I say. "Of course, but Sarah, I'm proud of you. Really proud. And if you ever want to grab coffee and catch up, I'd love to hear about everything that's happened since." Since he gave me an ultimatum, and I chose my dreams over his comfort. Since he told me I was being selfish for wanting more than the safe life we'd built together. Since he tried to convince me that Elena was just being polite when she recognized my talent. I appreciate that, Marcus, but I'm pretty busy these days. He nods, disappointed but not surprised. "Well, congratulations on everything. You deserve all the success you're having." As he walks away, I realize he's wrong about that too. I don't deserve this success because some external force decided to reward me. I deserve it because I worked for it, because I took a risk, because I chose to bet on myself when everyone else, including him, thought I was making a mistake. What would you say to an ex who didn't believe in your dreams? Comment your thoughts. 6 months after that night, I'm standing in the James Beard House in New York City, wearing chef's whites that actually fit, preparing for the Rising Chef of the Year ceremony. I didn't win. The award went to a brilliant chef from New Orleans who's doing incredible work with Creole cuisine, but being nominated was surreal enough. The fact that my name was mentioned in the same sentence as chefs I've admired for years still doesn't feel real. Elena is with me, along with the rest of our team from Races. We're here for a special dinner featuring nominated chefs from across the country, and I've been asked to prepare my congee for 200 of the most influential people in the food industry. "You ready for this?" Elena asks as we start our prep. "As ready as I'll ever be." The truth is, I'm not nervous anymore. Not the way I was during that first tasting 6 months ago, when I thought Elena might be humoring me. I've cooked this dish hundreds of times now, adjusted it based on feedback from critics and customers, refined it until it represents exactly what I want to say as a chef. That story I want to tell through food? It turns out it's about transformation, about taking something humble and familiar, congee, comfort food, the kind of thing your grandmother makes when you're sick, and elevating it without losing its soul. About honoring tradition while making it your own. It's about becoming who you were meant to be, even when everyone around you thinks you should stay the same. As service begins, I fall into the rhythm I've learned to love. The controlled chaos of a professional kitchen, the precise timing, the way every member of the team knows their role and executes it flawlessly. It's like conducting an orchestra, except instead of music, we're creating experiences, memories, moments of joy. During a brief lull, I step outside the kitchen to see the dining room. Food critics, James Beard Award winners, cookbook authors, restaurant owners, people whose work I've studied for years, are eating my food. And based on the expressions on their faces, they're enjoying it. My phone buzzes with a message from Jenny, watching the live stream at work. Everyone here is so proud. You're famous. Then another from my mom. Nai would be so proud, sweetheart. I know I am. And one more from an unknown number. Saw you on the James Beard livestream. Amazing work. Hope you're happy. Marcus. I stare at that last message for a moment, then delete it without responding. Some chapters of your life don't need epilogues. When service is over and we're breaking down our station, Elena pulls me aside. I have something to tell you, she says, and from her expression, I can tell it's big. I've been offered an opportunity to consult on a new restaurant in Los Angeles. High-profile project, celebrity investors, the works. My heart sinks. Elena has been more than a boss, she's been a mentor, a champion, the person who saw potential in me when no one else did. Congratulations, I manage. That's incredible. It is, but it would mean leaving Portland, leaving races. She pauses. Unless I had someone I trusted to take over as executive chef. It takes me a moment to process what she's saying. Elena, you're not ready yet. I'm not going to lie to you about that. You need more experience with management, with food costs, with the business side. But you could be ready in 6 months, maybe a year. Executive chef of a restaurant that's become one of Portland's most celebrated dining destinations, where my congee has become legendary, where I've helped develop a menu that critics rave about. I can't ask you to turn down Los Angeles for me. You're not asking, I'm choosing. This restaurant needs someone who understands its soul, who helped create what makes it special. That's you, Sarah. I'm crying now, ugly tears that I don't try to hide. I don't know if I'm good enough. Neither did I when I got my first executive chef position, but I had someone who believed in me, who pushed me to be better than I thought I could be. Elena smiles. Now it's your turn to be that person for someone else. Later that night, back in my hotel room, I video call my mom. How was the dinner? She asks. Incredible, overwhelming, life-changing. I tell her about Elena's offer, about the possibility of becoming an executive chef at 31, about how far I've come from the woman who was afraid to believe in her own talent. Nai always said you had magic in your hands, Mom says. She used to tell me you cooked with your heart, not just your head. I miss her. She's still with you, sweetheart. Every time you step into a kitchen, every time you create something beautiful with food, she's there. After we hang up, I sit in the dark hotel room and think about the path that brought me here. The years of self-doubt, the relationship that almost convinced me to stay small, the moment of courage when I decided to bet on myself. I think about Marcus, eating my congee at races, and trying to take credit for somehow being part of my success. I think about all the people who will tell you that dreams are impractical, that you should be satisfied with safe and comfortable, that wanting more makes you selfish. I think about Elena, who saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself, who gave me a chance when I had no credentials and no experience. Mostly, I think about the woman I was 6 months ago, scared, small, convinced that other people knew better than she did about what she was capable of. I want to go back and tell her that she's stronger than she knows, that the voice in her head telling her she's not good enough is lying, that the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all. But I can't go back. All I can do is go forward, carrying the lessons I've learned, ready to become the chef and the woman I was always meant to be. Tomorrow, I fly back to Portland and start planning for the next chapter of my life. One where I'm not just following my dreams, but leading others to follow theirs. In the end, Marcus was wrong about almost everything. He was wrong about Elena just being polite. He was wrong about me not having real talent. He was wrong about the restaurant industry being too hard for someone like me. But he was right about one thing. This journey did change our relationship. It ended it. And I've never been more grateful for anything in my life. Rate this story 0-10 and tell us, what dreams have you been putting off? The comment section is your space to share your story. Sauce is too rich, he'd say about my beer blanc. Why do you always have to make things so complicated? When I'd prepare fresh pasta. Can't we just order pizza? Became his standard response when he saw me pulling out more than 3 ingredients. Slowly, I started simplifying. Then I started cooking less. Then I started doubting every instinct I'd spent years developing. You're not a professional, Sarah, he'd remind me whenever I suggested we try a new restaurant to study their techniques. You don't need to obsess over this stuff. The thing is, I knew he was wrong on some level. I could feel it in my bones when I nailed a perfect risotto, when my knife work produced those paper-thin shallot slices, when I managed to balance sweet, salty, sour, and umami in a way that made my taste buds sing. But after 2 years of being told I was playing pretend, I'd started to believe him. Until 3 weeks ago, when everything changed. I was at Whole Foods, buying ingredients for what I'd decided would be my last attempt at an ambitious dinner. Just as I reached for a piece of dry-aged beef, another hand reached for the same package. "Oh, I'm sorry," I started to say, then looked up into the face of Elena Vasquez. Elena fucking Vasquez, James Beard Award winner, owner of 3 restaurants, including Corazon, which had a 6-month waiting list and a Michelin star. I'd followed her career for years, read every interview, watched every cooking video she'd ever posted. "No problem," she said, then paused, looking at my cart. "Nice selection, you cooking for someone special?" I should have said yes and walked away. Instead, I found myself word vomiting about the dinner I was planning, the techniques I wanted to try, the flavor profile I was going for. Elena listened, really listened. Asked follow-up questions about my approach to the protein, my thoughts on sauce pairing, whether I'd considered a different starch to balance the richness. "You know," she said finally, "I'm working on the menu for my new place. I could use someone with your palate to do some testing. Would you be interested in coming in next week?" I thought I was dreaming. Yes, but I should mention I'm not a professional, I work in insurance. Elena smiled. Some of the best cooks I know aren't professionals. They're just people who understand that food is a language and they're fluent. She handed me her card, "Call me." That was 3 weeks ago, tomorrow is the tasting. And Marcus still has no idea any of this happened. What would you do in this situation? Comment your thoughts. The morning of my tasting with Elena, I wake up at 5 a.m., my stomach churning with excitement and terror. I've been preparing for this moment for weeks, practicing knife cuts until my fingers were sore, testing flavor combinations on every free evening, researching Elena's restaurants until I could recite her signature dishes from memory. Marcus is still asleep when I slip into the kitchen to make coffee and review my notes one final time. I've planned out 3 dish concepts to present. A play on Xiao Longbao with duck confit and 5-spice broth, a dessert that combines traditional Chinese black sesame with Mexican chocolate techniques, and a riff on my grandmother's congee elevated with uni and crispy shallots. My phone buzzes, a text from Elena, "Looking forward to this afternoon. Bring your appetite for adventure." I can barely contain my excitement. "You're up early." Marcus shuffles into the kitchen in his boxers and yesterday's t-shirt, hair sticking up in 3 directions. "Couldn't sleep," I say, which is true. Big day at work. It's not technically a lie. I took the afternoon off, but I can't bring myself to tell him the truth. Not yet. Not until I know if this is real. Marcus grunts and starts making his protein shake, the same boring vanilla blend he's had every morning for the past year. He doesn't ask what's making today big, doesn't notice that I'm wearing my nicest blouse, or that I've actually put on makeup on a Wednesday. This should bother me more than it does. I spend the morning at work unable to concentrate on anything. My coworker Jenny keeps asking if I'm okay because I keep spacing out mid-conversation, and I accidentally approve a claim I should have flagged for investigation. All I can think about is the tasting, about Elena, about the possibility that maybe, just maybe, Marcus has been wrong about me this whole time. At noon, I tell my boss I'm not feeling well and need to leave early. It's another not quite lie. I drive home to change into chef's whites I ordered online and have never worn. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. I look professional, serious, like someone who belongs in a real kitchen. I'm gathering my knife roll when Marcus comes home unexpectedly. "What are you doing here?" I ask, startled. "Don't you have that client meeting at 2?" "Cancelled," he says, then stops short when he sees my outfit. "What the hell are you wearing?" My heart pounds. It's complicated. "Are you cheating on me?" His voice goes sharp and suspicious. "Is this some kind of weird roleplay thing?" "No, Marcus, I." "Then explain why you're dressed like you work at some restaurant when you're supposed to be at your insurance job." I take a deep breath. This isn't how I wanted to tell him, but maybe it's time. "I'm going to a tasting with Elena Vasquez." He stares at me blankly. "She's a chef, a really important chef. She wants me to test some dishes for her new restaurant." Marcus blinks slowly, processing this information. Then he starts to laugh. Not a happy laugh, a cruel, dismissive laugh that makes my cheeks burn with embarrassment. "Are you fucking serious right now?" he says. The Elena Vasquez wants you to cook for her." "Yes," I say quietly. "Sarah, come on, be realistic. Why would someone like that want anything to do with you?" The words hit me like a slap, because she tasted my cooking and... When did she taste your cooking?" "We met at Whole Foods, and I told her about a dinner I was planning." Marcus laughs harder. "Oh my God, Sarah, she was being polite. Rich people do that sometimes. They pretend to be interested in regular people's hobbies to make themselves feel good." "That's not what this is." "Really? Did she give you money? A contract? Anything official?" I hesitate. "No, but..." "But nothing. She probably gives her card to 20 wannabe chefs a week and forgets about them 5 minutes later. You think she actually remembers some random insurance adjuster she met in the grocery store?" My confidence, so carefully built up over the past 3 weeks, starts crumbling. "This is exactly what I'm talking about," Marcus continues, his voice getting harder. "You live in this fantasy world where you think you're something special, but you're not. You're a 31-year-old woman who works in insurance and cooks as a hobby. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to stop pretending you're going to be the next Gordon Ramsay or whatever." I never said I wanted to be. "Look at yourself, Sarah. Look at this costume you're wearing. You look ridiculous." I glance in the hallway mirror and suddenly all I can see are the things that are wrong. The chef's coat is too big, making me look like I'm playing dress-up. My knife roll is obviously new, the leather still stiff and unmarked by years of professional use. My hands are soft and uncalloused, not scarred and tough like a real chef's. "I'm trying to help you here," Marcus says, his voice softer now, almost gentle. "I don't want you to embarrass yourself. This woman is going to take one look at whatever amateur hour stuff you've prepared and be polite for 5 minutes, then never speak to you again. And you're going to come home crushed and devastated, and I'm going to have to pick up the pieces." I stare at him, this man I've been sharing a bed with for 2 years, and realize I don't recognize him. Or maybe I do, and I've just been refusing to see it. "What if she doesn't?" I ask quietly. "What?" "What if she doesn't dismiss me? What if I'm actually good at this?" Marcus sighs, the way you'd sigh at a child insisting they can fly if they flap their arms hard enough. "Then I'll eat my words, but Sarah, honey, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. Your cooking is fine for home, but this is the big leagues. These people don't mess around." He checks his watch. "Look, I've got to make some calls. Why don't you change out of that outfit, order some Chinese food, and we'll watch a movie tonight? Forget about this whole thing." He kisses my forehead, the same patronizing kiss he gives me when I suggest we try a new restaurant that's too fancy, or when I get excited about a cooking show. "Trust me on this one," he says. "I'm looking out for you." Then he disappears into his office, probably to call one of his work buddies and tell them about his delusional girlfriend who thinks she's a chef. I stand in our hallway for a long moment, looking at myself in the mirror. The chef's coat suddenly feels like a costume, like I'm a little girl playing pretend in her mother's clothes. But then I remember Alina's face at Whole Foods, the way she listened when I talked about flavor profiles, the the questions she asked that showed she was really paying attention. Some of the best cooks I know aren't professionals. They're just people who understand that food is a language and they're fluent. I look at my watch. If I leave now, I'll be 15 minutes early. I grab my knife roll and walk out the door. What would you do? Comment below, listen to the partner, or follow your dreams. Elena's test kitchen is nothing like I imagined. It's smaller, more intimate, industrial equipment packed efficiently into a space that feels more like a workshop than a restaurant. The walls are covered with recipe notes, photos of dishes, and what looks like a constantly evolving menu written in 3 different colors of marker. Elena greets me at the door wearing chef's whites that are actually stained and worn, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looks exactly like someone who spends her days actually cooking, not posing for magazine photos. Sarah, you made it. How are you feeling? Terrified, I admit, which makes her laugh. Good, if you weren't terrified, I'd be worried about you. Come on, let me show you around. She walks me through the space, explaining her process for developing new dishes, showing me techniques I've only seen in videos. When she demonstrates her knife work on a pile of shallots, I watch her hands move with the kind of precision that comes from thousands of hours of practice. Your turn, she says, sliding the knife toward me. My hands are shaking as I pick it up, but muscle memory kicks in. I fall into the rhythm I learned from YouTube videos and late-night practice sessions. Rock, rock, rock. The shallots fall away in perfect brunoise, uniform and clean. Elena doesn't say anything, just watches. When I finish, she picks up a few pieces and examines them. How long have you been cooking? Seriously, about 15 years, but just at home. Who taught you to hold a knife like that? YouTube mostly, and this Thai chef I used to help out in high school. Elena nods slowly. Show me what you brought. I unpack my mise en place, explaining each dish as I set up. The xiaolongbao concept I've been working on, with the duck confit sealed inside delicate dumpling wrappers, the 5-spice broth served alongside for dipping, the black sesame and Mexican chocolate dessert that plays with temperature and texture, the congee that I've elevated with uni and crispy shallots but kept true to its comfort food roots. This is ambitious, Elena says, examining my prep work. Tell me about your flavor thinking. For the next hour, we cook together. Elena asks questions, why I chose this technique over that one, how I balanced the sweetness in the dessert, what inspired the fusion of Chinese and Mexican flavors. Her questions are technical but never condescending, the kind of queries that push me to articulate things I'd only felt intuitively. When we finally taste everything, Elena is quiet for a long time, chewing thoughtfully, making notes I can't see. The dumpling skin is too thick, she finally says about the xiaolongbao, and the broth needs more acid to cut through the richness of the duck. My heart sinks. She's right, of course. I can taste it now that she's pointed it out. But, she continues, the flavor combination is brilliant. The 5-spice is perfectly balanced, and the duck confit technique is flawless. This shows real understanding of both cuisines. She moves on to the dessert. The chocolate is too bitter against the sesame, and the texture contrast isn't quite there. But the concept is sophisticated, and the execution shows technical skill. More criticism, more things I got wrong. The congee, though, Elena takes another spoonful, closes her eyes. This is perfect. The uni is briny without being overwhelming, the shallots add exactly the right amount of crunch, and you've managed to keep it feeling like comfort food while elevating it completely. This is the kind of dish that makes people stop talking and just eat. I feel tears building in my eyes, but I can't tell if they're from frustration or relief. Sarah, can I ask you something personal? I nod. What does your family think about your cooking? My grandmother taught me everything I know about Chinese techniques. She always said cooking was love made visible. Smart woman, and your partner? I hesitate. He thinks it's a hobby. Elena raises an eyebrow. Does he eat your food? Yes, but he usually has feedback. What kind of feedback? I don't want to answer, but something about Elena's direct gaze makes it impossible to deflect. He thinks I'm playing pretend, that I should stick to simple things because I'm not a professional. Elena sets down her spoon and looks at me for a long moment. Sarah, I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to really hear it. In my 20 years in this industry, I've worked with hundreds of cooks. Some were classically trained, some were self taught, some had natural talent, some had to work twice as hard to get half as far. She pauses. You have something that can't be taught. You have instincts. The way you season that congee, the way you balance the five spice in the dumpling filling, that's not something you learn from a cookbook. That's something you feel. My hands are shaking again. Your techniques need work. Your plating needs refinement. You need to learn about food costs and inventory management and how to work a real service line. But the foundation, the most important thing, is already there. She pulls out a folder and slides it across the counter. I'd like to offer you a position. Not as a line cook, you're not ready for that yet, but as a prep cook and menu development assistant. The pay isn't great to start, but you'd be working with my team, learning the business from the ground up. I stare at the papers, unable to process what I'm seeing. This is a real job offer, Sarah. Not charity, not politeness. I need someone with your palate and your curiosity. But I have no professional experience. Neither did I when I started. I worked prep for 2 years before anyone let me touch a hot pan during service. Elena smiles. The question is, do you want this badly enough to start over? Because that's what it would mean. Long hours, low pay, starting at the bottom. And whoever is telling you that you're playing pretend, they're not going to like it. I think about Marcus, about his laugh when I told him about this meeting, about the way he dismissed Elena as just being polite. I think about my stable job, my steady paycheck, my predictable life. I think about Nai, about the way her face lit up when we cooked together, about her certainty that food was love made visible. Yes, I hear myself saying, I want this. Elena grins. Good, I'll need an answer by Friday, and if you say yes, we'd start you next Monday. Fair warning, my kitchen is not for everyone. We work hard, we don't accept excuses, and I have zero tolerance for drama. But if you're willing to learn, I'll teach you everything I know. I drive home in a daze, Elena's job offer burning like a secret in my passenger seat. When I get to the apartment, Marcus is cooking dinner. Kraft mac and cheese from a box, the kind that comes with the fluorescent orange powder. How did it go? He asks without looking up from the stove. I stand in the doorway, still wearing my chef's whites, and realize I'm at a crossroads. She offered me a job. Marcus drops his wooden spoon. What? A real job in her kitchen, starting Monday. He stares at me, his face cycling through disbelief, confusion, and something that might be fear. That's great, honey, really great. His voice is strained, artificial. What kind of job? Prep cook and menu development assistant. Menu development, he nods slowly. What does that pay? I tell him the salary Elena mentioned. It's about 40% less than what I make at the insurance company. Sarah, Marcus turns off the burner and faces me fully. I'm really proud of you for trying, but this doesn't make sense financially. You'd be taking a huge pay cut too. What? Chop vegetables for someone else. It's not just chopping vegetables. But it's mostly that, right? Prep work. I can't argue with that. It is mostly prep work, at least to start. Look, Marcus continues, his voice getting gentler, more reasonable. This is amazing validation. She likes your food, that's fantastic. But walking away from a stable career with benefits to start over in the restaurant industry? At our age, that's not practical. He's not wrong about the practical part. The restaurant industry is notoriously difficult, the hours are brutal, and the pay, especially starting out, is terrible. Maybe you could do this as a weekend thing? Marcus suggests. Keep your day job and cook with her on Saturdays or something. That's not how it works. Then maybe this isn't the right opportunity. Maybe something else will come along that makes more financial sense. I look at him, standing in our kitchen in his khakis and polo shirt, stirring boxed mac and cheese, trying to convince me to turn down the opportunity I've dreamed about my entire adult life. What if I want to do this anyway? I ask. Then I'd support you, obviously. But I'd also hope you'd listen to someone who cares about you when they point out that this might not be the best decision. Rate this situation 110. Is Marcus being practical or controlling? Comment below. The conversation continues for 2 hours. Marcus brings up our lease, our shared expenses, my lack of health insurance if I quit my job. He reminds me that Elena's restaurants could fail, that the industry is unpredictable, that I'd be giving up security for a dream that might not work out. All of his points are rational, all of them make practical sense. None of them address the most important thing. For the first time in my adult life, someone who actually knows what they're talking about believes I have talent. That night, lying in bed next to Marcus, I stare at the ceiling and realize I have until Friday to decide who I'm going to be. Thursday morning, I wake up with perfect clarity. I'm going to take the job. The decision feels simultaneously terrifying and inevitable, like stepping off a cliff and discovering I have wings. I've spent the past 13 years convincing myself that dreams are luxuries I can't afford, but lying in the dark next to Marcus, listening to him snore, I realize I can't afford not to try. I get dressed quietly and slip out to make coffee, planning to call Elena before work. But Marcus is already in the kitchen, fully dressed in his suit, looking like he's been awake for a while. We need to talk, he says. My stomach drops. About what? About this restaurant thing. I've been thinking about it all night, and I think I know what's really happening here. He sits down at our small table and gestures for me to join him. His expression is serious, almost therapeutic. You're having a quarter-life crisis. I mean, a third-life crisis. Whatever. The point is, you're feeling unfulfilled at work, and this chef woman showed up at exactly the right time to make you feel special. I pour my coffee and don't sit down. That's not what this is. Isn't it, Sarah? Be honest. When was the last time you felt excited about anything? Really excited? I can't remember, which proves his point in a way that makes my chest tight. You've been cooking constantly lately, way more than usual, and you've been distant, distracted. I think you're trying to fill some kind of void, and this job offer feels like the answer. But it's not. It's just going to create new problems. Marcus's voice is patient, reasonable, the voice he uses with difficult clients. What if Elena is wrong about me? I ask, surprising myself. What if she is? Then you've given up a stable career for nothing. But Sarah, what if she's right and you're still not happy? What if the restaurant industry turns out to be everything people say it is? Brutal hours, terrible pay, toxic culture? What if you spend 2 years learning to be a prep cook and then realize you want your old life back? These are all questions I've asked myself over the past 24 hours. The fact that Marcus is voicing them makes them feel heavier, more real. I need to know, I say quietly. Need to know what? If I'm actually good at this, if I've been wasting my life in the wrong career, or if I'm just mediocre and don't know it. Marcus stands up and takes my hands. Sarah, you're not mediocre at anything. You're smart, you're reliable, you're good at your job. You don't need to prove yourself to some chef you met in a grocery store. But what if? What if nothing? This is your life, not some movie where you quit everything and become a famous chef. This is real life with real consequences. He pulls me closer. I love you, I don't want to see you get hurt. And that's when I realize the problem. Marcus loves me, but he loves the version of me that fits neatly into his idea of what our life should look like. He loves the Sarah who works a stable job and cooks as a hobby and doesn't want things that would disrupt our comfortable routine. What if I want to get hurt? I ask. What? What if I want to take the risk? What if I'm willing to fail if it means I might succeed? Marcus drops my hands. Then you're being selfish. The word hits me like cold water. And selfish. We have a life together, Sarah. Shared expenses, shared plans. You can't just blow that up because you want to chase some fantasy. It's not a fantasy. She offered me a real job. A job that pays $30,000 a year. Do you have any idea how that would affect our lifestyle? Our asterisk lifestyle. Not my dreams, not my career, not my chance to find out what I'm capable of. Our lifestyle. I could get a part-time job to make up the difference, I hear myself saying, and immediately hate that I'm negotiating. With what time? Restaurant jobs are 12-hour days minimum. When would you work a second job? When would you sleep? When would we spend time together? He's right about all of this, and it makes me furious. Other people make it work. Other people who are 22 and single, not people our age with responsibilities. I look around our kitchen, our matching appliances, our carefully budgeted furniture, our refrigerator covered with takeout menus because we both work too much to cook most nights. This life we've built together that feels suddenly like a trap. What if I want different responsibilities? Like what? Like working 60 hours a week for minimum wage and coming home too exhausted to have conversations. Like following my passion, like working with food, like finding out if I'm actually good at something I love. Marcus shakes his head. Passion doesn't pay rent, Sarah. Maybe I don't want to spend my whole life just paying rent. The silence that follows is loud and ugly. Finally, Marcus sits back down. If you do this, I can't support it. What does that mean? It means if you quit your job to play chef, you're on your own financially. I'm not subsidizing your midlife crisis. The words feel like a slap, but they also clarify everything. Is that an ultimatum? It's reality. I work hard for my money, and I'm not going to watch you throw our financial stability away because you want to feel special. I stare at him, really stare at him, and see a stranger. Or maybe I see him clearly for the first time. You don't think I can do this. I think you're scared of being ordinary, and you're making a desperate choice that's going to hurt both of us. And if I don't do it, then we keep building our life together. We save money, maybe buy a house in a few years, take nice vacations. You keep cooking as a hobby, and maybe someday when we're more financially secure, you can think about culinary school or opening a catering business or something practical. Something practical asterisk. Not something that would require me to start over, not something that would mean believing Elena saw real talent in me, not something that would mean I'm more than the sum of my safe choices. I realize I'm holding my breath. I'm taking the job, I say. Marcus blinks, what? I'm calling Elena this morning and telling her yes. Sarah, we just talked about this. Asterisk, you talked. You told me all the reasons I should be afraid, all the reasons I should stay small and safe and settle for the life I have instead of trying for the life I want. My voice is getting louder, stronger. You want to know what's selfish, Marcus? Selfish is asking someone you supposedly love to give up their dreams so you can stay comfortable. Selfish is crushing someone's confidence for 2 years and then acting like you're protecting them when someone else sees their potential. That's not what I'm doing. That's exactly what you're doing. Every time I cook something I'm proud of, you find something wrong with it. Every time I suggest trying a new restaurant or taking a cooking class, you shut it down. Every time I get excited about food, you make me feel stupid for caring about it. Marcus stands up, his face flushing red. I'm trying to help you be realistic. No, you're trying to keep me in a box that makes you comfortable. Well, guess what? I don't fit in that box anymore. I grab Elena's job offer from the counter where I left it last night. This is real, Marcus. This chef, this successful, accomplished chef, thinks I have talent. Maybe you should ask yourself why that threatens you. It doesn't threaten me. Then support me. I told you I can't. Then we have a problem. The words hang in the air between us like a challenge. Marcus looks at me for a long moment, and I can see him calculating whether I'm serious, whether I'll back down, whether this is a bluff he can call. If you do this, he says finally, we're done. And there it is, the choice I've been avoiding for 2 years, laid out in stark black and white. Okay, I say. I'm okay. Okay, we're done. Marcus stares at me like I've grown a second head. You're choosing a job you've never done at a restaurant that might fail over our relationship. I'm choosing myself over someone who doesn't believe in me. Comment below, have you ever had to choose between love and your dreams? What happened? 3 months later, I'm standing in Elena's kitchen at 5:30 a.m., breaking down a case of whole chickens with a speed and precision that would have shocked my old self. My hands are scarred now, marked by dozens of small burns and knife slips that are the cost of learning to cook professionally. My back aches constantly from the long days, and I haven't had a full weekend off since I started. I make less money than I used to, work twice as hard, and go to bed exhausted every single night. I've never been happier in my life. Elena wasn't lying about the difficulty. The first month was brutal. I burned sauces, oversalted proteins, and moved too slowly to keep up with the pace of service. But she also wasn't lying about her willingness to teach. Every mistake became a lesson, every small success built on the last one. Sarah, Elena calls from across the kitchen, I need you to taste the congee. This congee has become my signature dish at Elena's new restaurant, Races. It's on the permanent menu now, listed as Sarah's congee, uni, crispy shallots, and 5-spice oil, served in a bowl that costs $42 and has a 3-week wait list. Seeing my name on a real menu never gets old. I taste the batch I made this morning, adjusting the seasoning with the confidence I've developed over hundreds of iterations. The rice is perfectly creamy, the uni adds just the right amount of brine, and the 5-spice oil provides heat without overwhelming the delicate flavors. Perfect, Elena says, tasting over my shoulder. You've got the consistency down to a science. 6 weeks ago, Elena promoted me from prep cook to junior sous chef. It came with a modest raise and significantly more responsibility, but more importantly, it came with her trust. I develop new dishes now, manage inventory, and train the newer prep cooks who remind me of myself 3 months ago, eager, terrified, and determined to prove themselves. My phone buzzes with a text notification. I ignore it, phones stay off during service prep, but during my break I check it. It's from my old coworker Jenny at the insurance company. OMG Sarah, just saw the article about you in Portland Monthly. So proud. My stomach flips article. I quickly Google Sarah Chen Portland Monthly and find it immediately. The insurance adjuster who became Portland's hottest new chef. The piece is part of their Career Changers series, focusing on people who left traditional jobs to pursue their passions. The photo shows me in my chef's whites, standing in Race's kitchen, holding a bowl of my congee. I look confident, professional. I look like I belong there. The article quotes Elena extensively. Sarah has an intuitive understanding of flavor that can't be taught. She brings a unique perspective to our menu development, combining classical Chinese techniques with modern presentation in ways that surprise and delight our guests. Further down, there's a section about the success of my congee. Chen's signature dish has become one of Portland's most sought-after reservations. Food critics have praised its perfect balance of comfort and sophistication, and the restaurant regularly sells out of the dish within hours of opening. My hands are shaking as I read it. Then I see the final paragraph. When asked about her transition from insurance to cuisine, Chen says, "Sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all. I spent years playing it safe and I was miserable. Now I work harder than I ever have, make less money than I used to, and I've never been more fulfilled. The people who truly love you will support your growth, even when it's scary." I don't remember saying that last part, but reading it now, I realize it's exactly what I believe. Elena appears beside me, saw the article, huh? You didn't tell me they were doing this. Wanted it to be a surprise. You've earned the recognition, Sarah. That dish is bringing people from Seattle, from San Francisco. Food bloggers are making trips to Portland specifically to try your congee. My asterisk congee. The dish Marcus used to eat without comment, the technique I learned from my grandmother and refined through years of experimentation, the recipe that represents everything I am as a cook. There's something else, Elena says, looking unusually nervous. I got a call this morning from James Beard Foundation. They want to nominate you for Rising Chef of the Year. I nearly dropped my phone. Elena, I've been cooking professionally for 3 months. And in those 3 months, you've created one of the most talked about dishes in the Pacific Northwest. They're not nominating you because of your experience, they're nominating you because of your talent. The James Beard Foundation, the most prestigious culinary awards in America. 3 months ago, I was processing insurance claims and letting my boyfriend convince me I had no talent. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a number I recognize but haven't seen in months. Marcus. Saw the article, can we talk? I stare at the message for a long moment, then delete it without responding. You okay? Elena asks. Yeah, just someone from my past. But as the day goes on, Marcus keeps texting. I was wrong about the restaurant thing. Clearly, you made the right choice. I miss you. Can we get dinner sometime? I've been thinking about what you said about me not supporting your dreams. You were right. Sarah, please respond. I want to make things right. Each message feels like validation and vindication rolled into one. The man who told me I was playing pretend, who laughed at the idea of Elena wanting to work with me, who gave me an ultimatum when I chose my dreams over his comfort. Now he wants to make things right. During my dinner break, I finally respond. Marcus, I appreciate you reaching out, but I'm not interested in revisiting our relationship. I hope you understand. His response comes immediately. Can we at least be friends? I want to be part of your success. Part of your success, as if he had anything to do with it, as if he didn't spend 2 years systematically undermining my confidence in the kitchen. I don't respond. Have you ever had an ex try to come back after dismissing your dreams? What did you do? That weekend, I get a surprise visitor at the restaurant. I'm expediting the pass, calling out orders, plating final garnishes, making sure every dish that leaves our kitchen meets Elena's standards, when I see a familiar figure at table 12. Marcus, wearing a suit I've never seen before, sitting across from a woman I don't recognize. They're sharing the tasting menu, which costs $180 per person and books out weeks in advance. He sees me watching and waves, like we're old friends who just happen to run into each other. My first instinct is anger. How dare he show up at my workplace uninvited? But as I watch him eat, really watch him, I realize something interesting. He's trying to impress his date by talking about the food. I can't hear what he's saying from across the restaurant, but I can read his body language, the animated way he's gesturing at his plate, the self-important expression he gets when he thinks he knows more than he does about something. When they order my congee, I make sure to plate it myself, adding an extra garnish of microgreens and a perfect drizzle of the 5-spice oil. I want it to be flawless. I watch Marcus take his first bite. Watch his face change as he processes the complex flavors, the silky texture, the way each element builds on the others to create something greater than the sum of its parts. This is the same dish he used to eat without comment when I made it at home. The same techniques he dismissed as playing pretend. Now he's paying $42 for it and acting like a food expert to impress his date. The irony is delicious. When they finish dinner, Marcus approaches the pass. Sarah, that was incredible, really incredible. Thank you, I say professionally. I had no idea you were capable of. He gestures vaguely at the bustling kitchen behind me. All this. I tried to tell you. Marcus looks uncomfortable. I know I didn't handle things well when you were making this transition. I was scared of losing you, and I said some things I regret. His date is waiting by the door, checking her phone impatiently. I should get back to work, I say. Of course, but Sarah, I'm proud of you. Really proud. And if you ever want to grab coffee and catch up, I'd love to hear about everything that's happened since. Since he gave me an ultimatum, and I chose my dreams over his comfort. Since he told me I was being selfish for wanting more than the safe life we'd built together. Since he tried to convince me that Elena was just being polite when she recognized my talent. I appreciate that, Marcus, but I'm pretty busy these days. He nods, disappointed but not surprised. Well, congratulations on everything. You deserve all the success you're having. As he walks away, I realize he's wrong about that too. I don't deserve this success because some external force decided to reward me. I deserve it because I worked for it, because I took a risk, because I chose to bet on myself when everyone else, including him, thought I was making a mistake. The next morning, I wake up to find that Marcus has left a 5-star review on Yelp for races, specifically praising my congee as a transcendent dining experience, and calling me one of Portland's most promising young chefs. I screenshot it and send it to Elena with the message, "Remember my ex I told you about? The one who said I was playing pretend." Her response is immediate. The audacity face with tears of joy block him on everything. But I don't need to block him. Marcus doesn't have the power to hurt me anymore, and his validation doesn't mean anything. The only opinions that matter now are Elena's, my customers, the food critics who have praised my work, and most importantly, my own. What would you say to an ex who tried to take credit for your success? Drop your response below.